Welcome back. We've finally made it to the American Revolution. In today's lesson, we will see how the war went for the colonies in the first several years, and we will identify some key people and battles. Our learning targets for the day are the following. I can identify the major battles of the American Revolution. I can explain the roles different groups of people played in the war, and I can explain the importance of Thomas Jefferson and James Lafayette. We learned last time that the first battle of the Revolutionary War took place in Massachusetts and was named the Battle of Lexington and Concord. After the first shots of the Revolution rang out, there was no going back. And while most of the colonists were ready for war, there was still some division among them because there were colonists who still felt loyal to the king and wanted to remain a part of Great Britain. One of the pitfalls of any war is that it forces people to choose sides. During the American Revolution, people could be patriots, meaning they were fighting for American freedom, loyalists who sided with Great Britain, or remain neutral and not take a side. There were two groups in particular that had to make a choice. Africans and Native Americans were divided amongst themselves. Some slaves sided with Great Britain because they were promised their freedom. However, after the war, they were forced to leave the country because Britain had lost. Many went to Canada, England, or Africa. Others fought with the colonists, some by choice, and others were sent in place of their masters. Native Americans were split as well. They knew that neither side was going to leave their land, and they would be forced out either way. Women played a major role in the war on both sides. Many traveled with the soldiers, some fighting on the front lines, and others cooking, sewing, and serving as nurses. The women who stayed home took on the responsibilities of the men who had left for battle, running farms, shops, and businesses. One notable African from Virginia ended up being one of the war's best spies. James Armistead asked his master's permission to fight in the war. He ended up serving under French General the Marquis de Lafayette. Together, they came up with a plan for Armistead to pretend to be a runaway slave spying for the British. Only he was really going to spy on the British. He gave false information to the British while giving real intelligence to the Patriots. At the end of the war, he was granted his freedom, and Armistead chose to change his name to James Armistead Lafayette to honor the French general he served. One of Patrick Henry's most disliked enemies was Lord Dunmore. In December of 1775, the Revolution had made its way into Virginia. The village of Great Bridge was built along the only road leading from the south to the Norfolk Harbor. Lord Dunmore tried to use this to his advantage. The Patriots would be terrified at the sight of his well-trained soldiers. There was one thing, though, that Lord Dunmore hadn't planned for. The narrowness of the bridge forced Dunmore's troops to cross the bridge in rows of 6, allowing the Virginians to easily kill them as they approached. After only 30 minutes, over 100 British soldiers had been killed, and only one Virginian had been slightly injured. Lord Dunmore was forced to flee Norfolk and soon left Virginia for good. After several years of fighting, the colonies were ready to claim their freedom. The Second Continental Congress met again during the summer of 1776. Leaders from across the colonies nominated Thomas Jefferson for a very important job, writing the document which would cut ties with Great Britain. Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, and on July 4, 1776, it was read for the world to hear. A copy was sent to Great Britain as well. This document listed the reasons for the colony's independence and stated that the right to govern belonged to the people. Most famously, Jefferson wrote that people deserve the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. While the Battle of Great Bridge was a major success for the Patriots, they lost many more battles than they won during the first 6 years of the Revolution. Things did not look good for the American colonies. In the next lesson, we will wrap up the American Revolution and find out how the Americans turned it around. Time for our quick self-reflection. If you can answer the following 3 questions, you are good to go. What was the result of the Battle of Great Bridge? What document did Thomas Jefferson write? And why was James Lafayette important to the Revolution?